What would you do if you were stuck on this cruise ship with these massive waves rocking this boat around side to side, up and down, people screaming, losing control, chaos, in a panic? You would think that this nice cruise ship, the amount of money you paid, modern technology, everything that we know, or at least we thought we did, would put us in a situation of smooth sailing. But then shit happens. Shit hits the fan. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's exactly where we are right now, especially when it comes to DOGE. And better yet, the stimulus checks or Trump tax refund or DOGE dividend, however you want to call it. And when will we even see the money? You guys have been asking. I've got some answers for you. And first, I want you guys to take a look at this.
That's a jaw-dropping number. Where did all those people come from?
Well, it made my jaw drop too when I saw it. We were in Social Security looking for fraud, waste, and abuse. And to do that, we actually looked at the enumeration system, the system by which people get numbers in America. And we found that there were just about 5+ million of them that came to the country as illegals, were giving various forms of parole or allowed in the country, and they got through an automatic system, Social Security numbers, so they get into our benefit systems. And we tracked that through and found that they were on the benefit programs. And just because we were curious, we then looked to see if they were on the voter rolls. And we found in a handful of cooperative states that there were thousands of them on the voter rolls and that many of them had voted.
And just in, Kyle Becker reveals how Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, and the DNC have filed a lawsuit against President Trump to stop his executive order banning non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections. Now, why would they do that?
I wanted to talk to you about what DOGE has been doing. So you've been making cuts to a lot of the agencies that have open investigations and regulatory battles with your companies. At the same time, you continue to get billions in government contracts. Tesla gets billions in subsidies. How do you explain that to the American people?
Well, everything that DOGE does is an open book. So I think the most transparent the most transparent organization in government ever.
Wearing anything that allowed you to not have to go to the bathroom for 25 hours?
I don't want the Senate doctor to get mad at me. I don't want my doctor to get mad at me. But I really spent time dehydrating myself beforehand, so I did not have to go to the bathroom.
You didn't have to go to the bathroom at all for 25 hours.
Toxic people thrive on conflict, and nothing frustrates them more than someone who refuses to play their game.
The problem that we have right now is that if we continue down this road, then we will not have a rule of law, because we have people that are currently serving and they're saying things like, ignore the judge's order. What it means to have law and order in this country is that you follow the order and you go through the appeals process, even if you dislike what the judge did. Thank you, and I yield.
And I'll yield back to Mr. Issa. Mr. Issa, you had a question for me, which I'll yield to you now if you want to.
Now that there's no time left. Thanks, Eric.
Entertainment.
You're good. You're good at that, but I'll take my own time. I'll recognize myself. And I'm going to note that when Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC as we know her, filed articles of impeachment on Justice Thomas and Alito, Ms. Crockett was one of the co-sponsors along with Mr. Cohen, both members of this committee. It does seem interesting that when the shoe is on the other foot, everyone is self-righteous. And I think this is a good example. For the last 3 hours, I have had to listen to one side talking about impeachment as though it was the nature of this hearing. It is not.
So if you choose to not engage, they'll twist it and they'll accuse you of abandoning them or calling you, holier than thou, as if your refusal to engage is an attack on them. So in their world, everything is a power struggle. So they assume that your calmness hides some hidden agenda, because in their reality, everybody has a motive and nothing is ever what it seems. So you have to see through their manipulative tactics and resist the temptation to defend your ego, because that's how they get you.
Now, I did do a little bit of digging, and on March 30th, just a few days ago, during a town hall in Wisconsin, Elon Musk was directly asked about the status of DOGE dividend stimulus refund checks intended for American taxpayers.
I just want to say that DOGE's findings demonstrate to the American people that the government clearly does not care about our hard-earned tax dollars. I'm only 26, but I can imagine it's frustrating for people who have worked their entire lives to see their tax dollars going to fraud, waste, and abuse. And you alone have contributed so much money to our government via taxes, so thank you.
You're welcome.
But I'm sorry that your money's not being spent very well. You've clearly shown your leadership and team is capable of transforming our government into something better than what we see today. I just want to say I'm sure I'm not the only one who's wondering, but we know that DOGE has found quite a bit of money, and we would like to see some of that returned to the American people. Do you have any information on when DOGE checks would be written or sent out?
Sure. Well, I guess we need to be successful at scale. We've made a lot of progress, but there's still a tremendous amount of work to do. Effectively, as government spending is made more efficient and spending is reduced, the tax by inflation is reduced. So one way or another, you will effectively be better off if resources in the United States are not wasted. And it's somewhat up to the Congress and maybe the President to as to whether specific checks are cut. But whether a check is cut or not, if you reduce wasteful spending, the economy is going to be better off. People will do more useful jobs than before. The total output of goods and services will increase, and then the average standard of living will increase. So that's
The question stemmed from the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, a task force established by President Donald Trump via executive order on January 20, 2025, aimed at reducing federal government waste and fraud. DOGE, co-led by Elon Musk, has targeted $2 trillion in budget cuts with a proposal to redistribute 20% of the savings, potentially as checks to taxpayers, while allocating another 20% to reduce the federal debt. Elon Musk responded that significant progress has been made, with $140 billion in savings reported by March 30, though only about $7.7 billion is independently verified. He emphasized that reducing wasteful spending would benefit the economy regardless of whether checks are issued, but the decision lies with Congress or possibly the president via an executive action. The amount of any potential payout depends on the total savings. $1 trillion would yield $2,500 per household, while the $2 trillion goal could mean $5,000. Now, if that were to happen, what would you do with that money? Recent efforts include terminating contracts worth over $1 billion and updating nearly 10 million Social Security records to combat fraud, with Elon Musk projecting $1 trillion in cuts by May of this year. The proposal, initially suggested by Azora CEO James Fish back in February, has garnered support from President Trump, who called it a great idea, but faces mixed reactions in Congress, with Mike Johnson saying this.
The president said that a percentage of DOGE savings could maybe go back to the American people in the form of what he called DOGE stimulus checks, something like 20%. How would that work?
Well, look, I mean, politically, that would be great for us, you send everybody a check, but really, we have to think of it, I think, in a
That just got everybody's attention, by the way.
I know.
I just saw everybody look up all of a sudden.
I know.
Yep.
But if you think about our core principles, right, fiscal responsibility is what we do as conservatives. That's our brand. And we have a $36 trillion federal debt. We have a giant deficit that we're contending with. I think we need to pay down the credit card, right? That's what I think we need to do.
While some Republicans like Speaker Mike Johnson see political appeal, others prioritize fiscal responsibility given the $36 trillion federal debt. If approved, checks would target tax-paying households, including Social Security recipients and veterans, but exclude illegal immigrants. The outcome hinges on legislative action or an executive order, with optimism growing that Congress might pass it. possibly via reconciliation, though Elon Musk avoided a definitive commitment in his response.
Every single DOGE action is listed on the DOGE.gov website. It's also listed on the X handle. So if anyone has a concern about any one of those actions, they can bring that up, they can raise that. And I do want to say, like, sometimes we make a mistake. Nobody bats 1,000. We will at times make a mistake, but we'll act very quickly to correct it. I am under such an extreme spotlight, so much scrutiny, that it's literally impossible for me to get away with anything nefarious. And obviously, nor do I wish to. So this is a case where we have radical transparency. We're actually willing to admit that we do make mistakes. Often people are not willing to admit they make mistakes, but we are. But we want to emphasize we fix them quickly, and we're trying to do the right thing for the American taxpayer, for the American people. And I think history will be the judge that what we've done here and what we're doing is a very good thing for the strength and future of America.